All right, welcome everyone. Today is September the 11th, 2024, and this is the SIG Cloud Provider office hours. SIG Cloud Provider is a sub-project of Kubernetes SIGs, and as such, we follow their meeting guidelines, which basically means please treat everyone as you would expect to be treated, or explicitly so, please be kind. And if you'd like to say something, please raise your hand and I will call on you. And if you'd like to, please add yourself to the attending section on the meeting notes. I can drop a link in chat so people can get to it. And yeah, so I'll start by just asking if there's any sub-project updates. I guess this is mainly for Bridget and Chris. Anything from Azure or Equinix we should be talking about?
Don't have a sub-project update. We probably can, and I see Chris shaking his head as well, but we should probably have a welcome to an intro for new call attendees.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something we do in some of the other meetings. So JD, you had started talking before we recorded, but if you wanted to introduce yourself to the group and kind of talk about how you found us and what your interests are, that'd be great.
Yeah, welcome and thank you guys. So I found you guys on just I was scrolling through the internet and I saw this SIG group, and then I did some digging. I went to YouTube. I saw a couple of your recordings over there, and it was quite interesting for me. As of last month, I have done my CKAD, which is Certified Kubernetes Administration, and administration developers certification. So I was quite interested in this realm to know more, and I was like, okay, why not just go ahead and join you guys and get my hands dirty and try to learn something new out of this. And as of now, I'm a master's student. I am currently in San Diego State University, and yeah, pretty much it. I'm quite interested in DevOps and things, so just trying to get my hands dirty.
Yeah, for sure. Well, welcome. And it's cool that you found us on YouTube and made your way here. Um, we the SIG cloud provider, is really we address the cloud controller managers and kind of things related to that. So like a lot of the work that we focus on is directly related to how Kubernetes interacts with specific cloud providers such as Azure or Equinix or OpenStack or anything like that. So a lot of the components we look at and the problems that we're kind of focused on addressing have to do with that layer of the project. So it can, in the past we've talked about this with newcomers. It can sometimes be a little difficult to penetrate through this SIG to figure out like what's going on, because all the components that we work on, or a majority of them, require some specific interaction with a cloud provider. So it's good, if you kind of understand the APIs and the mechanisms around how the cloud providers work at the infrastructure level, that's great. And that's where a lot of the work from this, this group comes out in. Although saying that, we just finished kind of removing a lot of code that was intertwined with Kubernetes, and that didn't necessarily have anything to do with the specifics of the infrastructure. But that's a high level look at where we're at. I don't know, Joel or Bridget, did you maybe want to add more, or Chris?
Oh, I just added a link in the chat and I'll add it to the doc as well, that there is a blog post that Jadit might want to read about the removal that you're talking about, Almiko, because this is kind of if you are interested in the way the cloud providers intersect with Kubernetes in general, this is probably a pretty useful one to take a look at. This is the migration out of tree. Yeah.
I'll put a link there in the agenda just in case you need to find it later. Yeah, so I guess welcome. And my hope is that over the next 6 months, year, we'll start to generate more work that is kind of like easily accessible to the community. We have we're giving a talk at the next KubeCon about in the maintainer track about the future of testing cloud providers, and I think that's going to take a lot of work from the community at large to get done. So certainly, JDeep, you are most welcome here, and it's always nice to see new faces coming around and everything. Yeah, please go ahead, JDeep.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. I'll make sure I go through all the materials that you guys are sharing, and we have also gone through a couple of playlists that you guys have on the YouTube, so to get the gist of it. So I'll be happy to contribute you guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Sounds good. Yeah, and feel free to, bring up any questions you have here in our Slack channel, and we'll try to help out as best we can.
Sure. Thanks for the help. Thank you.
Okay, so it sounded like there's no updates from Azure or Equinix this week, and I don't think anyone else has come in, or have they? No, it looks like not. So I put
Well,
a topic. Oh,
Joel
yeah, so-
joined, but I don't know if he has anything from the Red Hat point of view that we're hoping to cover before we jump into the CCM lifecycle.
Yeah, did you have any provider updates you wanted to talk about, Joel?
No, nothing on my side today.
Cool, thank you. So yeah, I had one agenda topic about the blog post that Antonio and I have started. And in the process of that, it is, I guess, causing us to do some research about how different tools deploy the CCMs. So we're looking at like Cluster API, and we looked at KOps, and I about OpenShift. And as part of this process, I'm now starting to go through all the cloud providers that are in Kubernetes and Kubernetes SIGs, and I'm reviewing the manifests that are in them to maybe to look at how each provider kind of like describes itself, how it should be deployed. And part of the reason we're doing this is because we want to have a blog post that explains some of the pitfalls around what happens when you have to deploy the cloud controller manager on your own, and also give some suggestions about ways that we might want to endorse people to do this. So it's just through those things, but I wanted to come here because I think it's also an opportunity for people to get involved with the blog post if they'd like to. So I just wanted to kind of make it known if there are any maintainers of cloud providers who would like to contribute a section to the blog about how they advise people to deploy their specific provider, please reach out to me either on Slack or in our Slack channel, or I guess email if you want to, because I think there is definitely room, like Chris or Bridget or anyone, who usually attends these meetings, if you'd like to add a little comment, hey, this is the way we deploy our provider and our infrastructure. This is the way we advise people to provide it. And, here are some of the high points and low points. I think that would be great. No pressure though. I am going through these on my own and just kind of reviewing them and looking for, things like, use of host network and tolerations and, the pod affinity and those type of things. But if you'd like to, I would love to include more people and get more people involved in the blog. So, yeah, I guess I'll step off my soapbox. That's kind of welcome. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk, I guess, right? Does anybody have questions or comments about that? Yeah, Bridget, go ahead.
I actually found the raise hand button for once. Please clap. I am really excited about this, and I definitely want to loop in our team members who are interested in helping as well. I would say maybe when you get your outline or your docs started, if you want to add the link here or share the link, just so that when you're ready to have people kind of, I think sometimes it's easier to put notes into something that exists versus, yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like easier to put notes into something that exists versus start from a blank page. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I can copy the link now, although it looks
Oh,
like maybe
great.
Antonio would have to open up the editor access. But you can, this is
Oh,
the
that's
article that
fine.
we're working on so far. And there's a section down here at the bottom where we've started to go through these things. And you might, I called out
Mhm.
Equinix Metal here because before
Mm.
Chris had kind of brought some stuff up about how they deployed theirs. But there's a section after it where I've started to go through and we're just, putting information here. So I would
Mhm.
expect that if anyone wants to, love to have more additions kind of in this section about how to do that. And I will copy the link into our document there
Yeah.
so that people can find it. I mean, you could add a comment for now with the
Yeah.
content you want to add, but hopefully we'll change that to an editor link.
Sure.
Um,
Well, I mean,
yeah.
comments are great. And this maybe would also be a valuable place for JD to get involved right away because he could read the document as it exists so far and maybe add a couple of comments of questions because that would
Yeah.
help you refine it before showing it to the whole world. If JD has a question like, "Oh, what about this?" and you think, "Oh, any of us who haven't been coming to these meetings definitely need that kind of clarification. Thanks for pointing it out."
Yeah. Absolutely. 100% agree. And yeah, happy for any kind of reviews. It's a little raw right now, but I think Antonio and I are looking at trying to get this into shape by like early October. So like first week of October, I think we'd like to have the research part of it done, and we'll probably start hacking it into shape. Hopefully a little bit before then, but that's kind of what we would agreed on for now. JD, please.
Yeah, I'll definitely have a fresh look at it with a fresh perspective, as you said, and I'll do put out some questions if I have any. And yeah, you have given me the editors like the comment access. I'll definitely put out some comments if it's necessary, and I'll just go through that once. Yeah, and early October, right? If I heard that right?
Early October is when I think when Antonio and I would like to have to start getting it into shape to publish it. So yeah, we'd like to have all the research done kind of by the end of September. So yeah, but any comments you'd like to add now, like questions, those would be great.
Sure, sure. I'll definitely put out some new perspective, and yeah, try to bring something new to the table. Yeah, sure.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, so that was kind of the main thing that I wanted to talk about. Just make sure people knew this was going on and we could get more people involved. That's awesome. I guess, are there
Well,
any other agenda items people would like to talk about or questions about this? Or Bridget, I
and
had
just a question about that is, are you planning this for the Kate's blog or the
yeah,
some other location?
we'd like to propose this for the Kubernetes blog.
Nice.
And we're gonna, the goal here is, like I was kind of saying before, the goal here is to have really strong guidance for the community about like how they should be installing these CCMs. Because what we're finding, and this was, something Antonio had brought up before was about, the way that they deploy it, or the way that they deploy it, I think at Google, and he was talking about use of static pods and whatnot. And so we had gotten a little caught up in those discussions, but on further examination, the real key is to make sure you're using things like host networking, to make sure that you have, if you're using a deployment or a daemon set or something, you have the right tolerations in place, you have the right kind of pod affinities and the topology spreads and those kind of things. So now what we're trying to do is bring all that information back. We're going to do a little bit of a case study to show, okay, these are the ways that different tools install these things. These are the way the different cloud providers kind of advise that you install them. And these are the things you really need to be aware of as you're coming up with your own solution. And my hope is, and I think Antonio shares this as well, is that, we'll kind of say, here's the recommended way to do it. And here are some other ways to do it and why you might want to do it these other ways. And then, hopefully the users will make good, kind of good decisions about what their infrastructure needs are. So that's the intention, just kind of demystify this for people because we don't really have a common recipe for how these are deployed. And looking at some of the tooling, different tooling kind of recommends different things, and there are Helm charts for some things, and so just hopefully make it clearer for the community. Okay. Any other questions or comments about the proposed blog? All right. Not seeing any hands going up. Does anybody have other topics that they wanted to talk about? Or should we look at some triage and see what's going on there? All right, let's take a look at the triage then. Let's see what we got. Is there anything new that we need to triage here? Okay, this has been around for a while. And I feel like we pinged some of the GCP maintainers on this.
I think we discussed this one last time. Yep.
We did, yeah. I think we're still.
We'll have to
we
get
still like
Walter
to
when
get
he's available.
Yeah, get someone from Google to take a look at this. Okay, the other issues were all older than that. Although I see Joel's got one up here that needs triage. Where do we end up with
Hmm.
this? Since Joel's here, this is like,
Yeah, so we never got anywhere with this. Release on cancel is important, but I think we kind of concluded that we wanted to wait until the migration leader election stuff had all been removed, and I don't know what the status of that is. Once that's removed, this makes things a lot easier, because we don't have to do any coordination between the KCM and the CCMs. Given the migration and everything has been removed for what, 1 or 2 releases, I suspect we're probably cool now, but I think Walter is probably the one to double check with on this.
okay, so what you thought we wanted to wait until what was removed?
There's some special leader election migration stuff that hands off between Cube Controller Manager and the Cloud Controller Manager. I think we basically wanted to wait until that was done.
Thanks for adding a comment. And I did take care of the re-triage accepting it as well just now.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. I wanted to kind of capture a little more discussion because you can see it can be months before we come back to these things. So, and I always forget like what we were talking about.
Mhm. Do you want to mention Joel as well, just so that we have well, I mean, it is his issue, but you could at least
Yeah.
mention that, he is the one who said this. Yeah. So that when we've all forgotten later.
Trying to think what's the best. I don't want to just put like CC Joel because like he's here and it's his issue. He'll get email about it anyways.
No, of
Yeah,
course. Maybe
fine.
just like talking about this again with Joel at the SIG Cloud Provider office hours.
I'll get an email anyway if you at me or not, so you may as well
Yeah.
at me.
Just so that
Okay.
people know.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. And JD, hopefully this gives you a little bit of view into kind of the processes and whatnot. Like sometimes, these bugs are difficult to solve and we end up waiting on other parts and looking at things. So this is kind of how we make the bread, I guess. Alrighty. And I guess going back from that, they're really old at that point. Although that one's kind of old as well, it looks like. Alrighty. I guess we can take a look at the periodics just to see if there's any like failures going on here. It's another activity we should be doing regularly. And it looks like there's some SIG CLI failures. This was kind of a while ago. I'm guessing this is probably not related to a cloud provider thing. Yeah, it looks like a networking flake, probably, especially since the test started to work after that. Okay. Well, I think we've done our due diligence here. I'll give a last chance. Any other topics people want to discuss before we go, or should we take, I guess, 35 minutes of our day back here?
Sounds great to me. And I did already tell Elmiko that I will be at a team offsite event when next this meeting occurs in 2 weeks. So I will not be at the one in 2 weeks, but I will see you folks after that.
Yeah, and thank you so much for covering while I was on kind of extended leave for the last month. You know, it happens, right?
That's why there's more than one of us. We have a
Right,
redundant,
exactly.
we have a redundant supply of co-chairs.
For sure. Okay, great. Well, have a good Wednesday, everybody. And barring anything else, we'll see you in a couple weeks, except Bridget.
Take care.
Later.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.